you go. So welcome everybody. We may have a few other folks joining us, but we're super excited to have you here this afternoon. This is our first time doing a Zoom info session, so we'll see how it goes. My name is Cristina Rojas. I'm one of the advisors in the department. I've been on campus since 2001, but within the sociology department, I've been there since 2010. So I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary with sociology. Same.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sang Saili. I'm also one of the undergraduate advisors. Thank you for joining us. I know you guys are probably busy in the summer. I've been on campus since 2010, I think. And I think I'm coming up on my 7-year anniversary in the department on August. So very happy to see you guys, and I'm glad you were able to join us.
So we're trying to record the session, and we'll see if we can, post it online if needed, if you want to go ahead and revisit it later. If you could please all mute yourselves for the purpose of the session, that would be great. And if you have questions throughout, you certainly are welcome to include them in the chat. We'll see if we can respond to them throughout, or if not, we'll certainly have a time at the very end for us to talk about everything too. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for a little bit. And the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is talk a little bit about the fall 2020 admit section of the website. Hopefully folks have had a chance to take a look at this. If not, you can certainly do that anytime after this session. Under the sociology.berkeley.edu website, the undergraduate program section has a page dedicated to the fall 2020 admits. So as you go through that, you can take a look at the different sections that exist there, including how to contact us. So even after this session, we won't have you kind of, high and dry. You'll certainly be able to check in with us anytime after that. So we're not currently allowed into Barrows Hall, into our offices, but our email addresses work just fine. And we can set up phone appointments or Zoom appointments or Google Meet works for us as well. So the next section is about requirements and how to declare. So these next two sections about how to declare and about schedule planning will probably be where you'll spend the most time. We certainly do have, or there probably is information that you'll take a look at through the general online Golden Bear advising information that'll refer to the university and college requirements. From our end today, we'll focus a little bit more just on the sociology major info. So there's a total of 11 classes that are required for the major. For many folks, hopefully you've come in with Intro to Sociology and Statistics already completed. If that's the case, you should not attempt to enroll in Sociology 3AC. You might see that and see that it satisfies American cultures. But if you've already completed Introduction to Sociology at your community college, for example, there's a slight duplication of content. So 3AC is not something that we recommend for our incoming transfer folks. So this next section focuses a little bit on how to declare, which is pretty easy, pretty doable. If you've already completed Introduction to Sociology and Introduction to Statistics at your community college, then generally Sociology 5 is the last prerequisite that you'll need in order to declare. If you've completed Soc and Stats, you don't have to complete Sociology 5. You can be enrolled in it and already declare into the major. So I'll say that again. You don't have to have Sociology 5 completed. You can, once you're officially enrolled in it, then you can declare anytime. And there's a link there for helping you get into Soc 5, which Sang will talk more about in a little bit. And once you are in fact enrolled in Soc 5, we have a Google form for you to go ahead and use to declare the major. Right now, we're in this in-between period. So eventually we'll be able to see I guess, a downloaded copy of your transcript with information about Intro to Sociology and the stats course you took at your community college. Right now, we don't have access to that. So as part of our declaration process, we want you to upload a PDF so we can see those courses that you've completed at another institution. So once we go ahead and process your declaration and make it official electronically on the system, right now you'll notice that you're probably listed as LNS undeclared undergraduates on CalCentral. But eventually, once it's official, you'll notice the change and it'll say Sociology BA. Alrighty, so the next section is schedule planning. Actually, I'm gonna skip around a little bit here in this section. I'm gonna go down here first. So with our California Community College transfer folks, there's really 4 different things that you're concerned about. So one is your major requirements, which we'll talk more about in a second. Another is American cultures. So everything usually that has an AC at the end is generally considered an American cultures class and will satisfy that university requirement. Some community colleges do have courses that'll satisfy that, which is great. If you didn't satisfy it, that's totally fine. You have the whole time that you're at Berkeley to take care of that. And an easy way to do it is by taking a sociology class. That way you double dip. So it gives you a chance to take care of a sociology major requirement as well as American cultures. So you see listed there 111 AC, 130 AC, 131 AC. You certainly don't have to do it within the department, but just be aware that it's an option. Some other folks like to take advantage of taking in American cultures in a different department outside of their major, which is fine too. These other 2 areas that are important for new transfer students have to do with units. So one is that students are required to take at least 6 units of upper division outside their major. So for us on our campus, upper division courses are those that are numbered 100 to 199. Those are junior, senior standing courses. Those 6 units, it can be several 1-unit courses. It can be a 4 and 2-unit class, 2, 3-unit classes. It's pretty flexible how you take those 6 units, but they have to be 6 units of upper division outside of your major department. And the last unit requirement is you need a total of 120 units in order to graduate. So if you came in with just the 60 units, you'll need another 60 at Cal in order to hit the 120 to graduate. If you came in closer to 70 community college units, which is the maximum, you know, if you take the minimum 13 units over 4 semesters, you'll hit the 120 pretty easily. So that said, if you're concerned about planning for this very first semester, we have a couple tools to help with that process. Like we mentioned, you know, for most folks, it's Sociology 5 is the first thing that people will need to enroll in. And hopefully you've seen the Google form for requesting that, saying we'll talk more about it in a minute. The other thing is we have some examples of what that first semester schedule could look like. This is certainly not prescriptive. It's totally up to you what this looks like, but just some examples can be helpful. Some folks are super excited. They want to, you know, do Soc 5, do Soc 101. They've been ready and waiting to do it. Great. Soc 5 and Soc 101 meet twice a week, and you have lecture twice a week and your discussion section twice a week. So some of our transfer folks prefer not to do these courses together because they're both pretty time consuming. Soc 5 is research methods, both quantitative and qualitative. Soc 101 is classical theory. So it's not people talking about theorists, it's reading the original text, which can be super dense and a little bit difficult to deconstruct. So if that works for you, great. Soc 5 and 101, we can talk more with you about that. For other folks, they might take Soc 5 and a survey or an elective instead. Other folks want to do Soc 101 because they've already done Soc 5. And then they go into a survey or an elective. Other people prefer to get their feet wet a little bit and acclimate to the university and the major, which is fine. So you can instead take an upper division sociology, survey, or an elective. And I'll talk about what those two are in a second. But most of the time, students will take 2 sociology classes for the major and then a 3rd course outside of the department. When that happens, if it's theory, then yeah, it's possible to have 13 units with just 3 classes. Most of the time, you'll end up needing to take an additional 1 unit of something. What that looks like is totally up to you. But just so that you know, we participate in a program called Berkeley Connect. So our Sociology 198 BC is our section of Berkeley Connect, which is a mentorship program. And Berkeley Connect, I think there's 13 different departments that participate. Sociology is one of them. It gives folks the opportunity to have a graduate student mentor that facilitates the class. You meet every other week. And in between there, you might have like an alumni panel or a faculty presentation or some kind of event or one-on-one meeting with the graduate mentor. This probably still has the information from last semester, but just to give you an idea, it's a place to be able to talk about being successful in the field of sociology. So how to read effectively and critically, meeting your mentor, how do you do research in this field? You know, so it's a way to take something that's not super rigorous. It's just 1 unit. There's no final exam or homework or anything. It's an opportunity to receive some mentoring as well. Some other alternatives are the Transfer Center offers their own transition course, which is an introduction to the university and university resources. The Student Parent Center also has their own class, which might be 1 or 2 units. So those are great resources. And then decals. Those are Democratic Education at Cal courses that are student facilitated classes. They don't usually post until much later on the decal.berkeley.edu website, but they're student facilitated courses on any number of different topics, and they're a way to fill out your schedule if you need a unit to hit 13 units. You can see on here it totally varies from undergraduate journal in psychology to BTS. So there's a broad range of topics and content in the decal list. Also under schedule planning, the tool that we use a lot is our sociology major sheet. So usually when folks come into our office, we have an opportunity to sit down and talk about all the requirements. This is a tool we would use to help do that. So this is just a way to kind of, for yourself, keep track of your progress. There'll be some online tools soon that you can use as well, but for now, this is a helpful resource. So you'll see all 11 classes for the major represented here. That includes, of course, Introduction to Sociology, which hopefully you've completed, Statistics, which hopefully you've completed, and you can keep track of Evaluation of Evidence as your last prerequisite for the major. From there, you have 8 upper division courses left to do. These are not in order of when you need to complete them. You can certainly take a survey first or an elective first. You don't have to start out with Social 101. But part of our upper division requirements include Social 101 and 102. So 101 is classical theory and 102 is contemporary. For 101, you do need a C- or better in that class before you can move on to 102. So that's something to keep in mind for your planning. We do not offer theory in the summertime, but we do offer theory every semester. So if you don't take 101 this fall, totally fine. You can do 101 in the spring instead, and then finish 102 in the fall. We have 2 required survey courses. So our classes are grouped into different areas of sociology, and these surveys introduce you to that field. So 130 is social inequality, and the other inequality focused courses are under that. So 131 is race and ethnic relations, 133 is gender, 135 is sexual culture. So they're still within that same theme of inequality, but 130 is the broader social inequality course. So that's what surveys are. They're a little bit broader, introducing you to a substantive field in sociology. And our faculty want students to take at least 2 of those. survey courses, so you can keep track of that here. They generally end in a 0. So all the numbers in between, 111, 127, 135, 145, those will be electives for the major. For us, even though we use that language of electives, when we say electives for the major, they still have to be sociology courses. We're not very interdisciplinary. There's a couple classes that might satisfy the major outside of the department, but generally the electives have to be social courses. And then the last requirement is our seminar capstone experience, which is a 1 semester. It can be satisfied in 2 ways. So one is a 1 semester Sociology 190 class, which is a 25 students or less discussion-based course around a particular field or topic. And you'll generally do a 15 to 20 page research paper as part of that. The other way to satisfy the seminar requirement is by doing an honors thesis. So that's a bigger commitment. Instead of just 15 to 20 pages, you'll produce at least 35, and it's a 2 semester commitment. So you apply at the end of your junior year and participate in that program for fall and spring of your senior year to produce a paper focused on an area of research of your choice. And there is kind of a rigorous selection process for that. And we do require you to have at least 4 courses for the major already completed. So if honors is a goal for you, that's something to keep in mind. That you'll need to complete a total of 4 upper division sociology classes for the major between this fall and next spring. So, you know, that's a planning tool you can use as you're thinking about what to take this upcoming semester. Like I said, most folks prefer to just do 2 sociology classes in their first semester because most folks will have Intro to Soc and Soc 5 and Statistics completed. Then that will just leave you the other 9 courses left to do, which ends up being 2 to 3 Soc courses per semester. So it's super doable to finish within the 4 semesters that you'll be at Cal. The last page in this fall admit section, just a few resources. It's certainly not an exhaustive list. There's a lot of resources on campus, but just a few for you to refer to. I'm sure through Golden Bear Advising, you'll be exposed to a few others as well. Yeah, so that's pretty much quick overview. Sang will talk a little bit more about Soc 5 and declaration next.
Yes. So I'm going to talk about Soc 5 and how to declare the major if you haven't already done so. I do see that you guys have a lot of questions, so we'll get to those as well. So for Soc 5, it's typically a course that's not offered, or the equivalent of Soc 5 is not offered at many community colleges. I think it's only about like 14 or 15 in California that have an approved equivalent. So if you haven't done the approved equivalent at your community college, then you can go ahead and fill out that link that Christina is yeah, this is actually the that she's going to point to, and we'll go ahead and add you into the class. So a lot of you guys have already submitted that. A lot of you have already submitted that, and I've already added everyone that requested a Soc 5. But if you have not submitted a request and you do need a Soc 5 class for fall 2020 at Berkeley, then go ahead and submit that, and I'll get to it fairly soon. I've been able to add everyone in their first or second choice. At this point, the only discussion sections that are still available are the Monday, Wednesday discussion sections. So there's still plenty of those discussion sections, so don't worry about that. Once you have enrolled in your final prerequisites, you only need to be enrolled in your final prerequisite to be eligible to declare the major. And in order to declare the major, you can go ahead and fill out that Google form. You can upload your PDF, like an unofficial copy of your community college transcripts, to that Google form. If for some reason you're not able to do it, then just send us the email. We have on there, it does say SocAdvice, which is SOCADV@berkeley.edu. So I think we only have a couple that we still need to process, but other than that, we're processing your major declarations pretty quickly. If you have any specific questions about Soc 5 or the declaration process, then you can go ahead and send us an email and we can talk to you about that. But I did see some questions about Soc 5 in the chat, so let me let me actually answer some of them because I did see a few. So one question for Michelle was, how long does it take to hear back once you've declared the major? If you are asking how long it takes to hear that you've been confirmed, to confirm that you've been declared the major, I think it's been like only a day or two for us to declare students, and then typically we send you an email letting you know that you've been declared. If you submitted your paperwork or Google form, you haven't heard back from us, and it's been a few days, send us an email. But I think we only have like one or two that we haven't done yet. And so another question from Kristen was, I've already done Soc 5, what would be next? So if you've already done the prerequisites, which is Intro to Soc, Intro to Stats, and Soc 5, then you would move on to the upper division requirements that Christina just went over, which is Intro to Soc, it'd be the surveys and the electives.
You know, and if I could just add to
yeah.
what Sang was talking about earlier, we have that spreadsheet of courses that are equivalent to Sociology 5. Let me go back there, that you can access from our website. There's a spreadsheet here that you can take a look at. So this is a limited list of institutions, partly because our faculty so far have only decided that these institutions and these courses offer courses that are equivalent to our Sociology 5 class. One thing to note though, you know, for example, Sacramento City College, they offer a Sociology 305. They may, at American River or some other college within their same district, offer a course with a similar title. But as of today, our faculty may not have necessarily deemed that as equivalent for whatever reason. Maybe they don't go as deeply into qualitative methods as we do, or maybe they don't offer as many different types of articles as we do. If any of you, for example, ever attended a four-year institution and took any coursework that you feel like would be equivalent to Intro to Sociology or Statistics or our Evaluation of Evidence class, then our faculty would need to see the syllabus in order for them to decide whether a class is equivalent or not.
Yeah. So Christina, should we go ahead and start answering questions from students from the chat, or if students want to ask us through this video?
Sure, that's totally fine, yeah.
Let's actually, there's a couple from the chat. Let's go through a couple of them. Okay. So answer one from Michelle. So from Denny. So Denny's already declared in Soc, but it was suggested that she considers social welfare, which is a different major. She wants to talk to someone about possibly changing her major. If that's the case, you would actually just talk to the social welfare major advisor. Social welfare is a capped major. So if you're thinking about switching, then you would go ahead and check in with the social welfare advisor. You can probably just Google UC Berkeley social welfare undergraduate advisor, and their information will come up.
One of the things that can be really helpful as you're thinking about any potential major, say, you know, you're not 100% on sociology, I think reading through some of the information about the upper division courses can be pretty helpful. So going back to our website really quick, we have a section under the undergraduate program where you can review our undergraduate courses. And this is for you to be able to read through our course descriptions. Now, for this fall, you'll see that this was last updated in April, partly because we're moving away from creating this PDF, and instead this information will be part of the course catalog. But looking at the department-specific language can be really helpful, because this is a little bit more detailed than like the general catalog 2-sentence description. Sometimes they'll even break it down and let you know, like, this class is going to be taught in 3 parts, this, and this. So that way you get a sense of whether the course content matches your expectations. For us, under About, you can also browse through some syllabi. So same thing, you know, is what's actually going to be covered in a class meeting what you're expecting to learn about. And here you can browse through a syllabus and just be able to see, what am I going to be reading about? What am I going to be writing about? What kind of assignments am I going to have? Of course, it'll be different this upcoming fall, given that a lot of classes will be taught remotely, but these are definitely two tools to use, not only from our website, but also to be able to look for from other departments.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, let's go back to the questions.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh, there's a question about, can you still enroll in pre-approved courses in community college while attending UC Berkeley? So that depends. So one limitation to that is, say for example, you only took 60 units at California Community College, and you want to be able to take another 4 or 5 units at the community college and transfer that work over. So if it's during the academic year, like fall or spring, and you want to be enrolled at Berkeley full-time and at a community college, you need to get approval to do that. That's considered concurrent enrollment, and the college has to say yes or no. Mm-hmm. If it's during summer, you can be enrolled in Berkeley summer session and summer session elsewhere. But during the year, fall and spring, you need approval for that.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, so Christina, this other question we had from Brianna. I took 3 classes in the social department after intro and stats my previous institution, but I'm not sure how to match the classes to one at Cal. So for if you're only trying to use other social classes at community college just for sociology major requirements at Berkeley, we only take the 3. We take the intro to soc, intro to stats, and the soc 5. If you do more social classes than what we're requiring for our prerequisite, it would just be counted as units towards graduation. But we wouldn't, it wouldn't be used towards the major.
You know, and if you took a class, say that it was called Social Inequalities, or maybe it was called Sociology of the Family, everything that's offered at a community college is considered lower division. So freshman, sophomore type coursework. But most of the classes that you'll do for the major are junior to senior standing courses. So if you retake social inequalities, or you know, sociology of the family or sociology of education, it's not considered a duplication of coursework because the community college work was lower division. You'll be better prepared for that content if you take the class with us, but it's considered separate.
Yeah, so there's a couple of questions in the chat about that. They said a couple of students have noted that they've taken like a Social 101 or a theory class at community college. Unfortunately, that's not considered equivalent to our Social 101 class. As Christina just mentioned, all the classes at community college are considered lower division, and all, like our theory classes are all upper division classes, and so they're considered more in depth than what you would find at community college, and so they're not considered equivalent courses. And the one other thing is a lot of students are confused by the numbering system. So courses at your community college may have the same number as the courses at Berkeley, but it doesn't mean it's the same course. All schools have different numbering systems, and even if it's similar, it doesn't mean it's the same.
Stats at Berkeley City College might be Math 13. Somewhere in LA, it might be Math 227. At Sac City, it might be Math 305. So, and for us, it's Stat 2. So it just, every institution is a little bit different.
And then let's see.
So I see a question. So we don't need to take Soc 3AC if we took a statistics class. Sociology 3AC is kind of a broader sociology class for non-majors. So it's more of, for the purposes of satisfying an American cultures requirement, or it may be that people who are interested in another major might be able to use Soc 3AC as a prerequisite for their major. But for the purposes of the sociology major, 3AC is not a prerequisite for our department. So if you've already taken Introduction to Sociology at your California Community College, for example, Soc 3AC would be a duplicate. It would be partial duplication of the content. So there's no reason for you to take the 3AC.
Yeah. So one of the questions that was asked is about the other requirements. So you do have different sets of requirements that you need to fulfill. So you have major requirements. Christina just went over that. There's a total of 11 for the college. But you also have a university-wide requirement you need to do, which is American cultures. You may or may not have done that at your community college. The only way to know is to check assist.org to see if you've completed it at your community college. But you also have College of Letters and Science requirements that you need to fulfill as well. Typically for junior transfers who completed IGETC, it's usually 6 upper division units outside of sociology, outside of your declared major, so if your social major outside of soc. So that's 6 units, not 6 courses, but just 6 units. So upper division is any course numbered 100 and above. So you need to do 6 upper division units outside of your declared major. You also need to hit 120 units to graduate. That's going to include whatever you transfer in with. So the thing is, right now, we don't know how many units you're transferring in with. You probably already sent in all your transcripts to Berkeley. It's going to be evaluated by the central evaluation unit. It takes a month to go through all of your transcripts because they manually go through all your transcripts. And so I think last fall, I think they were done going through all transcripts by October. And so by then you'll see your transfer credit report on Cal Central. You'll see what courses were transferred over, what they were accepted for, and how many units you transferred in with. So Christina mentioned this earlier, but you probably transferred between 60 and 70. And so whatever you transferred in with, then you'll have to hit 120 units. So those are typically the requirements that junior transfers have to do. So the American cultures, which is a university-wide requirement, so all undergrads need to do that, and then all the college requirements, and then of course the major requirements.
Yeah, there's like additional parts to that where the College of Letters and Science has, I think it's 36 units of upper division, or senior residency is actually another area. Usually if you're doing all your coursework at Cal, and if you're doing the sociology major, you'll end up doing for example, the 36 units of upper division coursework just by virtue of doing the major. Senior residency has to do with, once you hit senior standing, which is 90 units, then you have to do a certain number of your last units in residence at Cal. It only becomes an issue if you're studying abroad for a year during your senior year or doing something like that. Then you need to meet with the college to get an exception for those kinds of policy issues. And you know, even though some of these might be LNS questions, you can always start out checking in with Sang or myself, and we'll do the best we can to respond to your questions or provide you with the appropriate links or information. If for some reason we can't answer something, we'll certainly let you know, someone who can.
Okay, so let's see one of the other questions. So I believe that SOC 5 is a research class the same as the SOC 103 at another community college. Refer to that sheet that Christina showed earlier, that Google Doc, and you'll see whether or not if it's considered an equivalent. You can also check assist.org to see whether or not that course that you completed is an equivalent to our SOC 5. Says, I'm interested in business and tech fields. What inside and outside of sociology courses would you recommend? Which student organization, clubs, or activities should I join on campus? So a lot of our students are, you can definitely take business classes through the business department, but those are really competitive, but you can add yourself to the wait list and see if you get into them. But for those particular interests, what I probably suggest that you do is really get into internships. And right now it would be hard to get an internship considering what's going on. And me and Christina would definitely refer you to the Career Center. They have a lot of great resources on their website. I think you'll probably have access to the career counselors, I think maybe in August. At that point, you can make appointments and talk to them about how to get involved in internships. Some of the classes that we might recommend if you're interested in like business, we have SOC 119S. I cannot remember the name of it. Let me pull it up, but that's a good course for people who are interested in business.
That's about like organizational design.
Yeah.
And then we have the 121, which is innovation and entrepreneurship.
And then in terms of tech, any of the like SOC 166, which is I always forget the names of the classes.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull it up.
The 167 also has to do with
Virtual
social media and
communities.
virtual
Mm-hmm.
communities. So that could potentially be, related. And like we mentioned earlier, you do have those 6 units of upper division outside the major.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take a UGBA or business course, that could potentially relate to that. Maybe you might decide that you want to get involved with, there's oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name of it, but an Institute for Innovation on campus. That
Oh,
does a lot of
the Jacobs Institute, right?
Jacobs Institute on campus, which does a lot around design and tech,
Mm-hmm.
and they do a lot of trainings as well for students. It's difficult, of course, because we can't physically be on campus, but I imagine they probably offer a lot of remote resources as well. As far as student organizations, I mean, we have almost 1,000 student organizations on campus. So I think through the Lead Center, you can probably run a search for groups that are based on different, social or cultural or political or business areas.
Yeah. So let's see. What's the other question? So some students are. So this is probably similar to the other question about switching. So actually, when you're admitted to Berkeley, you state your intended major, but you're not declared. That's how it works in the College of Letters and Science. So you're not sure about Soc, then you wouldn't declare. You have until you do have some time before you make a final decision. At some point, the college will block you if you're not declared, but it's at 75 units. So you at least have 1 semester in which you can make a decision. You should probably be pretty sure about what your major is going to be before you actually declare. So if you're not sure, I think Christine talked about how to maybe think about picking a major that's right for you.
Yeah, one thing to also keep in mind is that if you're thinking about potentially double majoring, you need to be on campus at least a semester before you can officially declare a double major. And if a major or minor is something that you're thinking about, it'll be important for you to be very intentional with your planning. It's doable, like I mentioned, if you completed Intro to Social Stats at your community college, you just have 9 more classes left to complete the sociology major. So it's possible to kind of plug things in. And we offer surveys and electives for the major every summer. So if you feel like you're thinking about a double major and you want to spill over into summer, it's very doable to take a social course during the summertime with us.
Yeah. So there's a question about maximum amount of units we take at Berkeley. So you do have a certain amount of time that you can be at Berkeley. All junior transfers are guaranteed 4 semesters. So fall 2020, spring 2021, fall 2021, and spring 2022. During those 4 semesters, you can accumulate or earn as many units as you want. But if you want another semester like fall 2022, then they hold it to unit ceiling. As a single major, your unit ceiling is 130. As a double major, you're guaranteed 5 semesters and your unit ceiling is 136. So, and that does take into account what you're transferring from community college. Let's see.
Since we don't have a minor, can we go over the concentration for declared sociology majors? So that's an interesting question. So sometimes other sociology departments or programs will offer a particular concentration, like having to do with organizations and social institutions or other fields. For us, in general, our sociology major is a general sociology major. You're certainly welcome to take classes that may have a particular, might meet your area of interest. Like we mentioned earlier, the organizational design, virtual communities, and innovation and entrepreneurship, if you're interested in business. But we have a variety of other courses to choose from, whether it's sociology of education or sociology of law or health and medicine. I mean, there's a lot. Starting this fall, we actually will be rolling out a new concentration, or the only concentration, in addition to just the general sociology degree. So that will be a research methods concentration. So it'll still be 11 courses that are required for the major. It'll just have a particular set of courses that you'll need to do within the major, and it'll require for folks to get a 3.3 or above in each of those individual courses. Right now, folks can declare the major as long as they have a cumulative 2.0 and a major GPA of a 2.0, and they're in their final remaining prerequisite. For that, you'll need to make sure that you get a specific grade in each individual course. And there's a set of 5 specific courses that are required for that. We don't have that information posted on the website, but once we do, we'll roll it out and announce it to everyone.
Okay, there was a question about using for the upper division units outside of the major, which is a college requirement. The person was asking about using courses from community college. The answer is no. All the courses at community college are considered lower division, and so you wouldn't be able to use that towards the college requirement of completing 6 upper division units outside of the major. So what else? Sorry, let's see. Do you recommend taking Social 101 spring semester in the hopes that it will be in person because it is considered difficult? You know, honestly, we don't know, right? Yeah, we honestly don't know if spring 2021 classes will be in person. Yeah, unfortunately, it's just hard to say. Do you have anything to add to that, Christina?
I mean, it's up to you. You know, I think if you're down, like you have been waiting to delve into Marx, Durkheim, Weber, like, and that's light reading for you, great. You know, maybe Social 101 in the fall semester would be a great fit. Other folks, they like to kind of just acclimate and get used to the jargon and the academic expectations, and they want to take maybe Social 5 and a survey or an elective instead. And there's no kind of right or wrong. You have to decide what's going to be the best fit for you.
Yeah.
And even though some folks prefer not to do Social 5 and 101 together, that doesn't mean that you can't.
Right.
One thing to keep in mind for 101 though is that right now our priority has been, because it's a 2-part sequence, right, with the 101 and 102, our priority has been allowing the declared seniors to enroll in that. So July 27th is around the time that we would grant you all access to enroll in that course if you're declared in the major.
Right. So the next question is, if I take Social 111 AC to satisfy my AC requirement, which is American Cultures, will I also get credit as a social elective? Yes, you can definitely do that. So if you take Social 111 AC, which is Sociology of the Family, it will count as a sociology elective, and it will count towards your American Cultures requirement. So it's a good way to double dip with any classes. So Zoe asks, are there any social lectures and discussions expected to be in person in fall? All of the big lectures will be virtual, will be remote. There's no way that Berkeley can accommodate large lectures while also practicing social distancing. So most of the lectures will be remote. The discussions, there was talk about whether or not some of the discussion sections would be in person or could it be remote, because the discussions typically are smaller. They're 20 or 25 students. So there was a possibility that we could offer them in person while practicing social distancing. But what I think the department and the university has decided is that if those discussion sections are offered in person, students would have the option to take it remotely if they didn't want to, you know, if they wanted to do so. So, which I think is a good thing. Let's see. The next question are there any pros and cons of having double majors, minors, and major change? So that's a pretty big question. So double majors, if you're really interested in 2 different majors and it fits into your schedule, then go ahead and pursue it. Same thing with minors. Major change, you probably should make a decision about what major you want to pursue probably in the first semester, just so that it allows you more time to finish all the requirements within the time frame that you're given, and also time to pursue the other things that you want to pursue. Yeah. Okay. So the next question is, American culture is the same as American institutions? No, it's not. American institutions, most students would have done that in high school. At some point, on your Cal Central, there's like 4 different requirements. There's 4 different requirements that hasn't been updated yet, but at some point it will be. but American institutions, a class that most people do when they're in high school, American cultures you'll do at Berkeley if you haven't already done it at community college.
Yeah, you generally take care of American history and institutions by doing like a year of U.S. history in high school or semester of government. If you didn't graduate from a California high school or you didn't pass those courses, it's fine. I mean, it's possible you may have completed that at a community college with a history course or some other courses. And if for some reason you didn't do any of those things, and you're not an international student, there's some courses that you could take at Berkeley that'll overlap. I think the History 137 AC might be the one that is like the triple dip.
Yeah.
That allows people to take care of American history, American institutions, and American cultures. So just like with a lot of other things, it's good to just be intentional with your planning.
Let's see what else is on here. Oh, does residence requirement means you live in the campus to take the classes? It just means taking Berkeley classes. So most of you probably won't even be around campus, I would think. But it wouldn't matter because you're taking Berkeley classes, so you'll be satisfying residence requirements for the College of Letters and Science.
And like I mentioned earlier, for the purposes of senior residency, it's something that's determined by the College of Letters and Science. And eventually you'll have an academic progress report where you can kind of check, I guess, to make sure that you're satisfying senior residency. But generally you would meet with the College of Letters and Science to discuss something like senior residency if you were planning to study abroad during your senior year. So if it's possible to study abroad during your senior year, and if you're hoping to spend a semester or a year abroad during that time, then you would have to talk with LNS about figuring out a modified version of senior residency.
Yeah. See, the next question is, when is it a good time to reach out to the department you're planning to minor in? So I would reach out now. Take a look at their website. They may have information about when it might be a good time for you to reach out to them. Some minor departments are okay with you reaching out to them now. Some of them will prefer it if you wait later. If it's not posted on their website, just send them an email, and they'll let you know when's a good time for you to reach out to them.
Yeah, and you never know whether their website might have an info session posted or other resources on there too.
Yes. So what kind of classes are considered elective? Is it just any class outside of your major? If you take up a minor, would it fulfill both requirements? So the one thing I have to clarify is that electives is kind of a generic term for the university. So in this department of sociology, we have sociology electives, and those are all electives within the department, and they're listed as sociology electives. But the College of Letters and Science also requires, we call it units, but some students will call it elective units. So I think with your question, I think you're just asking about the 6 upper division units or maybe towards the 120. So if you did a minor, it probably would require both. It would satisfy both requirements. Like you can use it towards the 6 upper division units you need outside of your declared major, and also towards the 120 units you need for graduation. Oh, does the amount of semesters we're guaranteed include summers? So you're guaranteed 4 regular semesters, fall and spring. Summers are not part of that. You could have them, but they're not like included as part of their guaranteed semesters. Hopefully that made sense. So if you're wanting to stay, let's say you're supposed to graduate by spring 2022, but if you want it summer 2022, the College of Letters and Science would grant that to you because summer is not an impacted term, it's optional for students. And so if you want to extend your graduation and stay till summer 2022, you can go ahead and have it. If you are thinking about extending to fall 2022, which would be like a 5th semester, then any units that you earn in the summer would go towards the unit ceiling. And just as a reminder, unit ceiling is single major, it would be 130.
And extending for an additional semester like fall, there's more to that. So, summer is a little bit more flexible where it's pretty
Yeah.
easy to get that approved by the college. You just fill out the appropriate form to extend your graduation term, and that's it. For something like asking for an additional semester for fall, you need a semester by semester scheduled out program plan that's signed by an advisor that you'll need to submit to the college for their review.
Yeah. Was that the last question?
Let's see. Someone attended a quarter system and was concerned about the final transcripts. So I think it'd be ideal, hopefully, it used to be the case, and hopefully it's still the case, when you were admitted, you should have gotten some kind of conditions of admission that outlined, like you need to submit your transcripts by this day, you need this kind of grade as well. Hopefully there was an admissions officer also tagged to that for you to be able to contact. So I would contact the Office of Undergraduate Admissions directly and whoever your admissions officer is, because it's pretty likely that they know that, you know, De Anza or Foothill or whatever institution is on a quarter system versus a semester. So they'd be the best resource to be able to tell you what would be appropriate. For our purposes, unofficial is fine. So we just want to be able to see your name, the institution, the class, the grades, specifically for Intro to Sociology and Statistics. So for the purposes of declaring, unofficial is okay, but for the university, you need to talk to them about your final official transcript.
I think that was the last question, or was it? Yeah, it was. Okay. So I in my email box, I see that a lot of you guys just filled out the Sociology 5 interest form. So I'll get through those today. I'll have you add it to Soc 5, and I'll send you a confirmation letting you know you're in the class. And I see a couple of you guys also submitted your major declaration form. So hopefully we'll get to those by the end of this week. But it shouldn't take that long. You'll also get an email confirmation. Is there any other questions that you guys have? You can always email us. Yeah, you can always email us later if you have any questions, and we can set up an appointment.
And yeah, you can certainly, you know, through that same fall 20 admit section, the first thing is, the first, I guess, page is about the advisors and how to contact us. So you can access our direct emails there, or the SOC adv@berkeley.edu is another resource too. Is it typical to take 2 Soc courses at the same time for each semester? Yes. Most students will do just 2 sociology courses, especially in the very first semester, and then take a 3rd course outside of the department. You know, as I mentioned earlier, it's pretty standard for people to do 2 to 3 Soc courses each term. Oops, I don't know which one was next. There's a couple other questions that came in too.
Okay, let's see.
Let's see. Once you've been added to Soc 5, can we submit the declaration form, or do we need to wait until the class starts? No, you don't need to wait until instruction begins. Once you're officially enrolled in it, you can submit your declaration form anytime. And if you, let's see, sent in a form for Sociology 5, even though you took the class that covers it, so you're interested in retracting the form, just email us.
Yeah, if you can email. Yeah, if you can just email us.
Yeah, that would be perfect. Alrighty, well, thank you all for coming, attending virtually. Hopefully one day we'll have an opportunity to meet you in person. Yeah. Yeah, generally one of us will be available at some point throughout the summer. There may be times where we have to take a day or 2 off here and there, but for the most part, at least one of us should be available throughout the summer. So feel free to email us, and you know, we can certainly set up an appointment if any of your questions were not answered today too.
Yes. Have a great day, guys.
All righty. Have a good one. Bye.